Hi, I'm Morgan, this is Rebecca and this is Shannon. Together we are the Good Yarn Collective.
There is approximately 130 kilograms of textile waste sent to landfills each year. Most of this waste is clothing and has the potential to be upcycled into new garments. The garments donated to clothing bins all over New Zealand are sent to places such as Save Mart and other op shops. However, the clothing that is unusable, such as items with rips and stains, are sent to Papua New Guinea as a gift, where the people of Papua New Guinea cannot use it either, and it ends up in their landfills.
Our intention is to make a dent in the amount of textile waste that is sent to New Zealand landfills annually. We are also hoping to educate school kids and Girl Guides about how their old t-shirts can make a difference in less fortunate people's lives, as well as teach them how to do so. We aim to visit primary and intermediate schools to collect old and worn clothing, in addition to branching out our brand online, where when we sell them, the money we make will be donated to groups and communities in need. We are not a profitable organisation.
Our solution is to knit garments, such as beanies, scarves, jumpers and bags, from t-shirts. This is done by the cutting of stretched t-shirts into long fabric strips, which we can then use to knit the aforementioned garments to be sold. Another solution could be for the balls of t-shirt thread to be packaged into kit set jumper bag sets with a pattern and sold at craft and knitting stores for people to create their own masterpiece. The yarn can be sold in balls on their own too. To begin, we fold a old t-shirt in half, leaving a 2 centimetre underlap of the bottom layer as shown here. Next comes the cutting, where we cut strips of equal length along the shirt, fully cutting through the top layer and leaving the 2 centimetre underlap uncut. Now we are left with loops on the t-shirt connected together by a spine, which we cut on an angle to make one long length of thread. When balling the yarn, it is simply stretched to curl the edges in and wound up. This can then be knitted into any number of garments. Here is a beanie, which we knitted to test how well the thread worked when making garments. I think for making sweaters we would need to use a looser stitch and larger needles, which would be perfect for making fashionable jumpers. One option for combating the variation in colours of t-shirts donated could be to over-dye the fabric with charcoal, which would give a uniform look to the thread used for one garment. In addition to making garments, we will make kit sets with our yarn featuring a pattern as well. People will be able to purchase these from local craft and knitting shops and make their own garments. We would approach schools and clubs like Girl Guides, which would help us collect donations and possibly run workshops where we teach these kids how to knit and make yarn. These students would come away with a new skill which is recently becoming a lost art in the young generation, as well as a newfound knowledge to do with sustainability and the problem of textile waste in our society and environment. When rolling out our organisation in other locations, we would work through the Girl Guide Association.
We made an online survey about the many different aspects of our idea and found over 30 girls from our school to get a representative sample of their future involvement. From this we have found that around 50% of people surveyed would be willing to donate clothing to clothing drives that we would hold at the school, rather than putting them into clothing bins. This changed to almost 70% when people found out that the clothing would be turned into new garments. From these results, we could predict that more than half of Westlake girls would be interested in getting involved in some way or another, through buying, making, or donating garments. Westlake Girls currently has around 2,500 students. If we were to have clothing drives at the school, or bring a t-shirt day, we would expect a great turnout and would definitely have enough t-shirts to begin making thread and garments. To begin, we would feed 60% of all our profit back into the collective in order to keep it running.
Our customers should care because the textile waste doesn't break down easily. And by donating to the Good Yarn Collective, our donators, which are our customers, are reducing waste going into landfills, providing funds to disadvantaged groups and communities, and feel like they are making a difference in people's lives. Our customers could be considered as the people receiving the funds as well. The funds collected from the garment and yarn sales could quite literally change the lives of communities and groups in need. As a collective, we would determine where the money would have a bigger impact and allocate funds accordingly.
We will know our idea is succeeding by having regular reviews of our collective, where after 3, 6, and 12 months, we could see a continuous growth in numbers and donations and the amount of funds that we're raising. As we grow, we would branch out into other areas of NZ and use social media to our advantage in spreading the word of a good yarn collective. We would monitor online traffic to our social media sites, which would give us an indication as to growing public awareness of our campaign. In the future, we would look into involving influential New Zealand fashion designers for support and help in increasing exposure.
We would use the sheer size and active involvement of our school to spread awareness and collect donations. One of the deans at school said that she would support us with school events and allow us to speak at assemblies each week. Clothing manufacturers could be another option, using their off-cut bins to create unique one-off garments which could be sold at no cost to us. We could get a small free advert or editorial in local newspapers and magazines telling people about a good yarn collective's goal and objectives. We would have social media on all popular platforms such as Facebook, Twitter and Tumblr to increase our online exposure. We could also have stalls at craft fairs or at knitting expos and local markets. We originally based these figures on the results from our survey. However, we cannot predict the future success of our collective, so this budget is simply a prediction. To begin, we would feed 60% of all profit back into the collective in order to keep it running, and as time goes on, we would decrease the amount to 30 to 40%. This would help pay our employees in other locations in New Zealand.
We will consider launching our products around the time of Fashion Week to use the spotlight on New Zealand fashion to our advantage. The endorsement of a fashion designer of our yarn product by actually using it would be a huge advantage to our profile. Our members would also be spreading the word of a good yarn collective in schools and communities as much as possible. We can constantly measure the amount of clothing we have coming into the organisation, as it is no longer going to landfill, and the amount of money generated by the sale of the garments and yarn balls that we have made.
Our problem is the huge amount of textile waste in New Zealand sent to New Zealand landfills annually, as well as the unusable garments which end up in Papua New Guinean landfills too. Our solution is the collection of old and worn clothing and upcycling them into new knitted garments and balls of yarn ready for people to knit up themselves in kit set packs. The money raised from the sale of these garments, yarn and kit sets will be sent to groups and communities in need of extra funding and could have a real impact in these people's lives. Our aim is to successfully raise awareness of issues to do with textile waste and to make sustainable upcycled garments. A good yarn collective is all about giving. Thank you for your time.
You'll now have 10 minutes maximum of questions and answers from the judges.
I think it was in the budget, but it flipped through pretty quickly. How much are you going to sell one of those hats for?
We are yet to decide a definitive price, but it would be less than retail, so probably about under $10.
I'll put another question out there. So as the business grows, as the idea grows, and what you guys are planning now, how are you looking to cover the administration side of collecting garments and looking for donations and stuff like that?
I think that's where we would work through Girl Guides, because they have a lot of girls which would be keen to get involved, and schools as well, where we would go to primary schools, because little kids, they stay in clothes, ripped clothes, so they're constantly needing new ones. So yeah, we would also have volunteers running the administration of this. We would be in charge of the Auckland region part of our collective. Yeah.
So you'd be relying to a large extent on voluntary labour, presumably. I mean, it's a craft, knitting, and it's putting fabric together. As a not-for-profit, you will still hopefully accumulate some excess over time. What would you then do with that cash if you, at the end of a year or two, you've suddenly got a pile of money to disperse?
We would be, if we did make profit, because most of the money that we create will be being sent to communities and groups that are in need, such as people affected by the Nepal earthquake and so on and so forth, with the problems that are in this world. With the profit that we do possibly make in the future, we would be hoping to get a hold of machines that would help us with the knitting, so we wouldn't need as many volunteers in our collective.
Are you aware, has anybody done anything like this before in terms of getting garments and stripping them back to... I've not come across it, I think it's a neat idea.
I originally heard about this idea of cutting t-shirts into thread through my fabrics class, where we had a sustainable designer come in and show us how people are doing this. People are using this technique on small scale kind of things, and our aim is to kind of bring it into a larger scale and make a real impact.
Do you have any more questions?
We're good. Thank you very much.